I hope that you are having a wonderful day today. My name is Luciano, and I make videos where I talk about choose your own adventures, jump chains, and all sorts of other topics. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at a jump document, very specifically an out-of-context supplement. Out-of-context supplements are a handy way for jumpers to get the powers of characters and power systems from other settings while not necessarily exposing themselves to the direct dangers of those settings in and of themselves. For example, say a character wants to become like Superman. They can go to the out-of-context Superman supplement and gain the powers of Superman without going to the hecticness that is the DC comic verse. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the out-of-context Doctor Doom supplement, which is by Arkham, who is a Redditor in the Jump Chain subreddit. And we are going, before we go any further, I would also like to mention that the out-of-context style supplements are a Reddit invention created by a Redditor named Sphere, who has created, as far as I know, the majority of these types of documents and supplements, but there are a few other creators who quite like them and who have created some of their own, with Sonic, Cody, and Arkham being a handful of those individuals. This is the Doctor Doom supplement. It can be used as a supplement in any jump that would not otherwise have Doctor Doom in its continuity. By taking the supplement, you will be akin to Doctor Doom and you will enter that continuity as a drop-in awakening on a time travel pad. This can be used as its own isolated jump, and if it is, you can select a setting of your choice, even if it doesn't have a jump document, and use this document as a 10-year long jump. What that means is you can go to a setting that has its own jump and you can use that as a supplement for it. For example, if you want to go to My Name is Earl, if you like the Karma powers, or if you just want to hang out with Earl and Randy and the gang, you can go there. You can use that jump document, or you can choose to ignore that jump document altogether and just hang out with the gang for a decade while having Doctor Doom-like powers. There are 3 origins here that tap into the 3 facets that are the most pronounced of Doctor Doom. There are the Sorcerer origin, the Scientist origin, and the Dictator origin. And just skip past the descriptions of the origins for right now, because we are going to be taking a look at all of their perks when we get there. It is worth noting that one extremely common facet of the out-of-context supplements series, in fact, in every single one of them that I have seen, is that there are lots of ways to get boosted versions of perks. There's lots of perks that act as little boosters for other perks, and that's the reason why this section over here is just a section that exists. It's worth noting there are many jumps that do not have boosted versions of the perks. They don't have capstone boosters or anything like that, but in every single one of the out-of-context supplements that I have seen, there are multiple ways to get boosted versions of perks. So we are now going to go ahead and visit the undiscounted perks. Several of them are free. Doom Does As He Likes is free. It makes it so that you have a flair for the theatrical and for dramatic things. Throne for You makes it so that you can power pose on a chair or a throne super easily. The Power Type Origin is an out-of-context origin perk. All of the out-of-context supplements have these kinds of perks. And they also have Dynamic Entry, which is another narrative perk that allows you to craft your method of dropping into a jump. The Power Type Origin perk makes it so that you can set your way of entering the jump however you wish. Normally, they are a little bit more fleshed out than this, although technically the way that you're going to enter this jump has already been spelled out. By taking the supplement, you've chosen to be akin to Doctor Doom, and you'll enter the continuity as a drop-in awakening on a time travel pad. Drop-in is a term that means that you have the least amount of starting stuff just by virtue of entering a setting. It makes it so that you typically have no new memories, you don't have any connections, any of that kind of stuff, although there are plenty of perks that actually allow you to modify that to some extent. They allow you to know the history, to have a background and a sort of childhood of your choosing, and also when you import items, they're going to import normally even if you are a drop-in, unless there is some sort of drawback that would affect how you import your items. So if you have a successful business and it is a fiat-backed item, and you want to enter into a setting as a business person, you'll still be able to do that even as a drop-in. It's just that you won't have a lot of the same stuff you would have if there was some sort of business person origin in that setting. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about drop-ins. Now we are going to go ahead and visit the first not free perk, Foot Dive. This is a simple but useful maneuver. You can jump in the air and slam down on your opponents like lightning. It's easily spammable, and it's a reference to a Doctor Doom move in a lot of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, and also some of the other Marvel fighting games. Psychic Powers is a perk that gives you a few simple psychic tricks. You have basic telekinesis, mind reading, and maybe even body hopping are available to you with this. I would personally rule not body hopping with this, because that is one of Doctor Doom's signature tricks, and I think that it should be worth more than 200 choice points. It's one of his most powerful abilities, and I really like it. I would personally have made it its own perk, but I'm not the person who designed this. So if you want the most powerful reading of this, which is super valid, you do you, then you would be able to body hop with this perk. Richards is the next perk, and this is one of the boosting perks. So by buying this, you will get stronger versions of some of the other perks that you could buy depending on your origin and how you choose to allocate your budget. This is something that makes it so that you will always be able to find ways to surpass and overwhelm the people that you hate. It doesn't matter how much higher than you they are, you will be able to climb your way up and throw them from the top of that mountain, and it also just makes you very good at being petty. There's Enough Doom for All is the capstone perk for this particular set of perks. It is perk that allows you to use your will and boost your willpower. You're someone who's impossible to manipulate through magic, psionics, or technology. God himself could try to force you into a blinking contest and you would watch him blink first. This doesn't make you immune to physical harm, but it does make you immune to other sorts of manipulations. So no form of mind control would be able to work on you, that kind of thing. It's worth noting that there are cheaper perks that you could find that allow you to have the same effect, but when this becomes boosted by also having Richards and becomes Beneath Me, you would it makes it so that no matter how far you fall, no matter how much is taken from you, you will have a chance to take back everything you lost and then some. It makes it so that if you're stripped of your armor, and that's a signature part of you, if you're stripped of your strength, or even you're forced to become a brain in a jar, you will find opportunities to drag your way back into your body and hunt down the one who thought that they could get you. This also boosts other perks, just as is often the case with these kinds of things. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the actual origins and their perks. Doom is effectively a force of nature, and while different people will know him first and foremost as different things, for me it is his area as a sorcerer where he shines the brightest and where I have the most distinct memories of his antics and schemes. The free perk for the sorcerer origin is Parlor Tricks. These are basic mystical things. If you are a D&D player or if you're a Pathfinder person, you will probably recognize these as effectively being cantrips. These are bolts of magic, simple shields, and illusions. The illusions are probably the weakest of these because the illusions will not trick anyone who is above average in terms of willpower or intelligence. That said, all of these things are decently reliable, and one area where they especially shine is that they cost no energy for you to use. Mystic Fist, the next perk in this origin, allows you to mix magical arts with martial arts, and also allows you to automatically understand Tibetan martial arts and their brand of magic. If you need help thinking of that kind of thing for your jumper and you are not a big comic book person, you could just look at the Doctor Strange style of magic and think of it as something similar to that. Supreme is the next perk in this one, and this is a very handy perk. It makes it so that you are a true genius when it comes to magic in all of its forms. You could travel the world and find very few people above you in terms of talent. This is a perk that can be boosted. If you have the Richards General perk, this becomes Sorcerer Supreme, and that allows you to surpass the people who are better than you at magic. Throughout heaven and earth, you are the strongest when it comes to mystic arts. Anyone who is actually stronger than you, it would just take a few months of casual education for you to surpass them, and you can continue to further hone and refine your magical powers in a range of ways, especially for a jumper, which is definitionally an out-of-context being who is able to mix and match things very effectively. So if you have this perk and then you go to the wizarding world, you would be a magician at least on par with Dumbledore and Voldemort and Grindelwald and all the other big names in that setting. And in time, you would be able to match them if you could find out that any of them are better than you in any specific areas. So say that you are as good at transmutation as Dumbledore, but you're not as good at dark magic as Voldemort. It turns out you would be able to become better than Voldemort at dark magic. That kind of thing. Friends in Low Places is the capstone perk for this origin, which means it's the most expensive perk. It is very powerful. It makes it so that even though you are forced to rely on higher or lower beings to grow considerably more powerful, at least in this initial setting when it comes to magic, you are able to do so. You're good at negotiating contracts with these beings. You are able to get boon after boon from them while giving up fairly little in return. That said, you do have to be careful. This by itself does not give you any sort of protection from overextending yourself if you have Doom's worst flaw, which is his pride, so just be a little bit more careful of that. That said, because it's a capstone perk, it can be boosted. It can be boosted in two different ways. If you have There Is Enough Doom for All, then you are able to get the Best There's Ever Been perk, which makes it so that you are able to force supposedly higher or lower beings to deal with you. You are able to force them to make contracts, and you are able to create rituals and equipment that can take power from them, and if they do make a contract with you, then their powers will be drained from them and sucked into you, which is very powerful. If you have the Mystic Fist perk, then Friends in Low Places also morphs into Familiar Carnage. It makes it so that those demons, it makes it so that any beings that you can absorb, you are able to project into the physical world as a familiar to fight on your behalf. And if those beings fall, they would harmlessly return to you, and them falling does not free them from their servitude. This is very powerful if you have ways of absorbing powerful mystical beings, such as if you have Best There's Ever Been. So just keep that in mind. If it has the potential to make you a truly powerful summoner, and also an incredibly dangerous foe. For a lot of people, Doctor Doom is probably best known as a scientist, and this is the origin that allows him to best shine. It can be very handy for technological jumpers. The first perk in this origin, which is free for scientists, is Degrees in Evil. This makes it so that you are always going to be able to flex your intelligence in any way, shape, or form is fitting for the world. So this also is very handy because in lots of settings that a jumper might visit, there will not be chances to have shiny PhDs or master's degrees or even bachelor's degrees. And a jumper would still probably want to flex that, or would still want to be able to convince people that they're qualified to talk about things that they're actually qualified about. This is just a perk that allows you to do that. Polymath makes it so that you are able to mix different branches of science into new, different forms. You could mix mechanics and psychology to create a hypnotic machine. You could mix biology and engineering to make plants that have mechanical traits. Now, obviously, this is a perk that is very powerful if you are creative and also a little bit silly. And that's very handy for a lot of jumpers, because if there's something that a lot of jumpers tend to become after a while, it is both creative and silly once you have enough perks. Mad Scientist is the next perk in this origin, and it makes it so that you are a master of using science to grant you and others you want to uplift powers beyond the mundane. If you have the Richards perk, it becomes Hubris of the Powerful, and it makes it so that you are not only a master of giving people powers, you also understand intuitively how to counter and nullify them. So this is something that Doctor Doom is very well known for in many comic book continuities. It's not just that he is personally powerful, because compared to a lot of traditional superheroes, if you have him without his armor or if you have him when he's tired, he's not that much more powerful than a lot of other people. But what he really excels at in a lot of ways is countering other people's powers. And that, as a jumper, is something that you should definitely try to get at some point, especially if you really like to slowly escalate the settings that you're going to, and you like to find more and more enemies with different sorts of powers. The Greatest Mind perk is the capstone for the Scientist origin, and it makes it so that you are able to bend the rules of the universe to serve you. You're able to create terrifying technology such as spaceships that can be anywhere instantly, weapons that could shatter the world without even firing, such as weapons that if you just turn them on, that could cause devastation. If you have There Is Enough Doom for All, this becomes Beyond Brilliance, and with Beyond Brilliance, you are just so much better than even the smartest scientists in whatever setting you're in. It is a scaling perk that makes it so that you are able to contend with the smartest minds in whatever setting you're in, and also makes it so that you can reverse engineer marvels of the universe in the span of an hour. If you have the Polymath booster, this becomes Alternate Science, and what that does is it allows you to create magitech by mixing magic into your library of knowledge with science and all of that stuff, and makes it so that you are able to create magitech, which is a system of magic and technology that is usually depicted as being either better or more efficient, or both, than either of the other systems individually. Now, at the end of the perks, we're in the final section, the Dictator perk tree, which reflects Doom's status as the dictator of Latvia. And it is something that is probably one of the lesser known aspects of Doctor Doom, unless you are someone who is very into comics, or the MCU has allowed you to start figuring out more comic book relevant facets of different characters. But with Doctor Doom's status as a dictator, he has a wide range of benefits, and it is one of the more popular facets of his character among comic book fans. The first perk that you're able to get from here is the Voice of Doom. It makes it so that you have a naturally powerful voice, allowing you to talk for hours to the common folks and keep them hanging on your every word. Teacher of the People makes it so that you are able to teach even entire societies about a wide range of different topics effectively. It is not necessarily something that so dramatically enhances your teaching abilities that you become some grand sage, but it blends both your leadership and teaching abilities in such a way that you are able to change societies for the better, though for the better is something that's a bit relative to you and your particular school of ethics. Leading Man of Industry is something that makes you a marvel of industry. You're capable of building vital infrastructure, and it also allows you to have skills in business, getting more out of your workers while still treating them well enough for them to be devoted to you. If you have the Richards perk, this becomes the Art of War, and this allows you to train people into war-minded individuals. Even with a civilization that's never known modern war, you can evolve it into a war machine capable of contending with those other older and bigger nations, something that is just incredibly handy if you are a jumper who is a leader, if you're a politician type jumper. 2 steps ahead is the Capstone perk here, and it makes it so that you are just far better at scheming and planning and just dealing with people psychologically. You are even able to do feats like turning people who want to assassinate you into your loyal guards. That said, this is not foolproof. There are some people who just hate you enough or have a strong enough will that they will be rendered immune effectively to your attempts to persuade them. That said, with the right boosters, that could potentially change. If you have There's Enough Doom for All, this becomes Jumper Does Not Fail, which makes you a master of the Santos Gambits and allows you to be, even in situations where lesser leaders would have a low chance of succeeding, you are over prepared and you prepared for any possibility, and you would be able to find a way to turn a loss into a victory or outright avoid a loss altogether and somehow just come out on top. If you have Teacher of the People, this becomes Master of War Games. This makes it so that you are an unstoppable strategist, just a stunningly skilled military leader, and who is always able to figure a way out of any situation, no matter how dark or grim, from a militaristic standpoint. And we are now going to go ahead and talk about the items. It's worth noting that in a lot of out-of-context supplements, the items are mostly superfluous. They're mostly not incredibly handy, but in this particular jump, the items can be a lot of fun. The first item is free, and it's the titanium armor. It's a heavy suit of armor made out of a titanium alloy and comes prepackaged with air conditioning and braces to help with mobility. That said, you can upgrade this. In addition to just being able to upgrade it using perks and stuff, there are purchasable upgrades that you're able to get over here. Life support costs 100 points, and it makes it so that you have systems built into your armor that allow you to survive. As long as your suit has power, you'll be able to survive any climate. Adamantium, there are different tiers to this one. The first tier, you are able to have the true variant, which is the one that a lot of people will think of when they hear of adamantium. It's Wolverine's claws, that kind of stuff. But if you pay 400 choice points or 200 for scientists, then you get proto-adamantium, and it is the sort of stuff that Captain America's shield is made out of. It makes it so that your armor is far, far, far harder to injure. You could also buy the Uru upgrade, which is another super metal. This is the metal of the gods. It isn't quite as insanely durable in terms of its raw physicality, but it is very well suited for magic. It's empowering and capable of being empowered by magic, and is the same stuff that Mjolnir is made out of. Also, that upgrade is discounted for sorcerers. Endosim is another upgrade, and this one makes it so that your armor is less of an armor and more of a second skin. It's liquid metal mixed with the properties of a symbiote, and allows you to summon your armor and wrap it around you to any extent that you require with just a telepathic call. Also, damage done to it will quickly self-repair. That said, there are areas that you should know about this. This comes with the weaknesses that many symbiotes have. There are weaknesses to heat and different sorts of frequencies of sound, but you can deal with that yourself if you wish. And this option even allows you to fuse with your armor, turning you into a metal man. Jumper Reactor is another upgrade that you can buy. It makes it so that your armor has an energy reactor that converts any magical or scientific energy into an explosive burst of power, and any normal form of power will have its output multiplied tenfold, which can be incredibly handy. And the final upgrade is just an augmented strength upgrade. This is a simple addition. It makes it so that any natural physical ability you have will be increased by the amount of energy that you have in the suit. So this can obviously compound incredibly explosively with Jumper Reactor, as well as with the right out-of-context perks. You could also have a bot factory available for free. All this factory needs is power. It's a desolate factory that has the means and blueprints to make a small army of jumper bots, robotic copies that are effectively your version of Doom bots. That said, it would take some time, but if you are able to power this factory, there's a lot of mischief you could get up to. The damage time platform is another one of Doctor Doom's staples, although it's a little bit damaged. That said, if you properly fix it, it can take you to any place within space and time, a little bit like a TARDIS, but without the personal pocket dimension. That said, it wouldn't be out there to try and upgrade this to that level of functionality. If you have the right in-context or even out-of-context perks, you could definitely do that super easily. Jumpervaria or Jumpvaria is your version of a country that you rule over. This is discounted for dictators, and it's a relatively small country that has an incredible amount of raw resources and also a lot of devotion to you. The lands are filled with riches the rest of the world would rarely see themselves, and the people are completely devoted to you, seeing you as a god king. That said, one other neat thing about this is it comes with a castle as the core of your country, perfectly opulent for you. There are custom companions in this particular jump, which is not always the case in out-of-context supplements. There's Valeria Doom, who is another mysterious stranger. She was born from Doctor Doom and the Scarlet Witch, which is truly an incredibly powerful combination. She is also egotistical and a bit unstable, but she's loyal to you, and she's willing to help you with your goals so long as you are loyal to her and do not betray her. Metalface is a free companion, unlike Valeria, and this is a supervillain of music who is a very skilled musician who is also a master of a specific form of magic, which allows his rapping to be empowered and also just be very cool. And when you say his name, you're supposed to say it in all caps. I don't have a voice that's very good for speaking in all caps, so I'm not going to do that. There are also many drawbacks. There are multiple pages of drawbacks, which is very handy if you are willing to challenge your jumper in exchange for letting them get everything that they want. There are two different types of drawbacks in these supplements. There are generic drawbacks, which are usually later on in the things, and these are drawbacks that are more suited for any setting. And then there's also drawbacks that are handier for if you want to deal with things that are inspired by the out-of-context supplement that you're using. So this one has things that allow you to deal with Doctor Doom types. The Superman supplement, which is my favorite out-of-context supplement, also has drawbacks that allow you to face other Supermen, that kind of thing. The generic drawbacks are very handy for just quickly accumulating a lot of points. This can be a very handy way to do something like Cheese the Banking Supplement, if that is something that you're into. If you really like the idea of saving up a whole bunch of points, you can definitely use this to visit a safe setting. You can then just take on a whole bunch of different drawbacks, although not all of the drawbacks are super easy, and the drawbacks would change the setting and make it more challenging. So even if you're in a setting that starts off safe, be careful not to overwhelm yourself with everything. That said, that is going to be our video taking a look at the out-of-context Doctor Doom supplement. I want to thank both Deverosphere and Arkham for their work here. Deverosphere is the person who created the out-of-context supplements in the first place, and Arkham is the person who created this specific supplement, and they are just such a fun combination of things. I made a post over on the Jump Chain subreddit where I mixed the out-of-context Superman substitution supplement with the Animal Crossing jump, and I was able to create a jumper named Jim the Jumper who just went to that particular setting and then was an Animal Crossing person. He was a human in Animal Crossing, and he was also a homage to Superman, who was a heroic person who had all of the undiscounted perks as well as all of the homage perks, and he just had a great time being a true superhuman with a lot of very fun stuff. I also really like this. I think this is probably my second favorite out-of-context style supplements. I originally was trying to make a video where I was talking about the out-of-context Superman substitution supplements, but even just the beginning of it was really long, so I decided that it'd be better to create a shorter video, and that was this one. We are eventually going to go ahead and talk about the out-of-context Superman substitution supplement, just not today. That said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you're thinking of how you can best foot dive on people and be the very best Doctor Doom that you can be. I hope that you enjoyed this. I absolutely love these simple videos where I just go ahead and talk about a jump doc. I think that that's one of my favorite things to do, and I can't wait to talk to you all again. Have a wonderful day.